There we go. That's a little better. Well, howdy, partner. Welcome to another episode of Deeming Hadley's Games. Tonight we'll be playing Skies of Smoke, an Eberron campaign. Now I'm very excited because I feel like I don't get enough of Atlan and his coterie. I'm looking forward to getting at it tonight, learning a little bit more about this world that he lives in. Now, I do believe that when last we had seen Atlan, he was learning a thing or two about artificing. And if that isn't just par for the course in a Eberron-inspired world, I don't know what is. So strap on your tool belts and polish up your spurs, because we're back. And this is season 1, episode 4. And the title of this episode is Polishing Up. So join us, if you will, on this little escapade in a world yet to be revealed. If you think that I was going to miss an opportunity to do the round robin introduction with this accent, well then, partner, you ain't been paying attention. That brings us to the round robin. Now, during the round robin, we like to do 4 distinct things. The first thing that we do is introduce ourselves. The second thing we do is share with one another and the world our pronouns. The third thing we do is, of course, introduce our characters. And the fourth and final thing we do during the round robin is offer a vivid aesthetic description of our characters. So without further ado or bloviating on my part, Ben, why don't you show the folks at home how it's done?
This is really, I have to say, a very charming southern southern drawl
Yeah,
you put
thank
on
you,
there.
thank you.
I don't know if I can do that. I thought. I mean, I don't know if it is that prevalent or obvious to people, but I kind of try to do it a little bit for Atlan, but I'm not that.
Here's my advice. Take a British accent and slap the pretentiousness out of it. That is a southern drawl.
That is an interesting.
It's literally where it came from. If you took a British accent,
that's an interesting description
and slap the sass right out of it, you get a southern accent. In fact, in a lot of ways, a southern accent is more in tune with a amalgamation of British accents that never really angled toward hoity or toity. Excuse me. I'm allergic to British people. I apologize. Just the thought of them makes my sinuses swell.
There's these little colloquialisms or expressions that are very prominent in the southern region, or at least I had the feeling when I visited it. And it's like things that are very very minor, like you all this the abbreviation or something like I reckon or mighty fine.
Oh, I reckon now and again. Yeah, I catch myself reckoning. I try not to.
And I really like this things because it's a very archetypical almost set of expressions and colloquialisms that are very interesting, and I really like them.
Yeah. Um, there's a dividing line. I mean, I grew up in somewhat rural North Carolina, and I managed most of my life never to really pick up a Southern accent. I prided in a lot of ways myself for not sounding like a hick, and as I have matured, uh, I have certainly allowed more than just a slow Southern cadence to make its way into my vernacular.
I mean, I never understood it in the first place, but that is a little bit in tune with my disposition, and my with my linguistic aptitude, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
I Why would you discriminate someone for a sociolect or an idiom or a dialect that they speak? It's an interesting.
I've got a laundry list just to give you a heads up, but especially with the Southern disposition. But
I mean,
I can only speak because that's my people.
yeah. I mean, if it comes to, of course, cultural tendencies that are viably
Oh yeah,
connected
there's
or
some.
delineated towards this style, a form of dialect, a form of expressiveness.
Sure.
That's a whole another deal. But the simple expression of an individual disposing themselves and showing, oh yeah, I have this kind of little things that form and color my language and
Sure.
my pronunciation. I just that, and not the connected maybe cultural issues. That is something I don't understand why you would discriminate, because that is just something that comes to your socialization.
Sure. Sure. But I'll give you a heads up. Many a person with a folksy charm. You be wary of them, son. I tell you what, they'll have their way before you know what's what.
Yeah, but what I mean, you will know that there is of this depiction of people that, for example, um, exhibiting a southern drawl of being more connotated towards a less educated demography. And
My good man, that assumption is not without reasonable standing, because
yeah,
you find yourself in the hills, in them there hills. Then
the hills have eyes.
I'll just say this: I wouldn't be worried about the education level of the individuals you run across. I'd be worried that you ran across them at all.
But do you understand when I'm saying that
Oh, I do.
you
I
do
absolutely understand. I do.
that it is not favorable to be
I
discriminated, or just
I grew up within 20 minutes of nearly 30 colleges and universities. They're they're a smarter bunch than they want to let on. That's true. And they utilize, in case it wasn't apparent, they utilize that. "Aw, shucks, you must think me a simple man, and I'm gonna play into that. Oh, yes, I will, sir. Yes, I will."
There are very beautiful examples of people that are put into this category or stand with this hurtful or not. That's a decision to make in the individual case stereotype, and then using this in a beautiful way for their advantage. I think the first one that would come to my mind, I don't know particularly why, but it would be, oh, the name eludes me at the moment, but
Warren Buffett.
no, the female lead of Preacher.
Never saw it.
Um,
I'll have to check it out.
she also speaks in a similar fashion, and it is just from a standpoint of pronunciation. Oh, it's hella
Power.
sex.
The
It's
power of
hella sex.
linguistics. Yeah. Yeah. There's a charm. There's a charm that like I said, it gets under your skin. You don't know how all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is a very charming individual, and they couldn't possibly do me any harm.
I mean, there is a certain cadence, a sing song, a melody, if it is done in the right fashion. I think this could also be one of the explanations why there is such a huge market for country music and
Oh, for
for
sure.
bluegrass and similar,
That's
because
so folksy.
seam, it seamlessly it seamlessly crosses the line from just utterance to song in some
Yeah.
cases.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Now do the thing.
Oh yeah, so
I
it was such an interesting conversation. I totally
agree. I
forgot.
agree. I know.
So hey everybody, welcome to this whatever this is
To
gonna turn
whatever
out to
this
be.
is.
I don't know yet,
To
but we're
Damon
gonna find out
Hadley's
together.
Games Southern Edition.
We gotta find out together what that means.
I,
So
I sure don't
very
know.
interesting. My name is Ben. I prefer they them when it comes to English, and I have the distinct pleasure of playing a certain Atlan in a fashion I do not often do, at least previous to this installment. And it's very interesting and very new and exciting to me. And well, Atlan, well, I don't know what to tell you. Just I'm Atlan, just Atlan, all right? Look, I'm just gonna do what needs doing. Need something fixed that has gears, wires, coax tubes? I'm your guy. Need something broken that has bad manners, problems with boundaries, and a general lack of human decency? That can be arranged. Just let me one let me make one point unmistakable, right? Don't stand in my way and don't threaten the ones close to me. Because that sure is a very quick way to lose a life.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you think you're a tough guy, do you? You think you got what it takes? Come on.
I think
Come
Alan,
on, let's see what you
Alan
got, boy.
thinks
Come
that.
on, come on. Let's see what you got. Come on. You got a pretty mouth. Oh, pop it. What's he look like?
What does it look like?
What does it look like? Well, hang on. Before I commit myself to something I might regret later. What does he look like?
Well, that's a good question. That's the picture. Let's do
You can do it.
this.
I believe in you.
Yeah. And then share. should be visible. Yes.
Hello. There he is. That guy does look like he would kill me. That guy does
It's
look like
nice.
he does look like if I took a pot shot at him, I would not I would probably have a broken jaw.
They,
And would it would take a long time for me to be able to tell the tale.
I really appreciate the lack of communication,
Yeah.
almost this despondence
There's
that
a
general
flatness.
the general expressions
Yeah.
communicate, but then those eyes that are such they are just so very haunted and dark in
Yeah.
what they are saying.
It's
If you're
amazing what a
looking,
little eyeliner will do. It's amazing. A little eyeliner
yeah,
and just the faintest hint of mascara, and all of a sudden you turn into a dangerous person.
yes, that's true. I should wear on some streams like with Tithe.
Don't be
I
shy.
should wear.
Yeah,
I,
don't be shy about it. I'll join. I'm sure I can find. I'm sure I can rummage up some eye makeup to match. It's fine. I listen. Y'all are in trouble when I put on a smoky eye. I'm telling you. I go. I
yeah,
get. It's
I
haunting.
don't I don't think anyone is going out of that session alive.
Yeah. No. Or without getting pregnant. That's all of everybody.
Okay,
Just saying.
okay, that's
Just.
an abundance of opportunities. It seems.
Yeah. I put on a smoky eye once. I was sort of a caveman for Halloween one year, and so I had this faux fur tunic, big old wooden club, beech wood, like beached wood, and long hair's curly, and then a couple of braids braid in my beard, actually two braids in the beard, and I put on a smoky eye and sort of a dusty look on my face. And I came into work like that, and someone had the peace of mind to look at me and say, "What are you going to do? Hit me over the head and drag me out of here by the hair?" And I looked at the club and I was like, I hadn't considered it until right now.
Thank
But
consider this idea. Thank you for your input.
I can see how that would be what you would where your mind would race to, darling. I get it. I get it. Uh,
Honestly, your description just sounds like dwarves on vacation.
hello.
Your description looks like with heavy weaponry,
Yeah,
braided
yeah,
beards,
yeah.
this shirtless, and
Just saying.
like a little bit like the attitude of carelessness and nonchalantry.
Yeah.
Just just a bunch of dwarves on vacation.
It was technically pantsless, but
Okay.
that's neither here nor there. That's unimportant. Um, I'm just saying.
I mean, with
I'm
all
just saying.
this stereotypically depicted heavy armor, I think a dwarf would appreciate a little bit of free swinging.
Barbarian. I don't need it. I don't need it. Just don't get me mad. Um. Oh yeah.
Hey, that's Tithe line. Hey.
Uh, Hi, everybody. I'm DMing Hadley. I use he/him pronouns, and I am here tonight for 60% or so of your DMing needs. I am going to lose the hat just primarily because it just gets lost in the background anyway. And so that I can let my brain let some heat off as I think about what will transpire tonight during our game Skies of Smoke. Um, Now, I do believe when, like I said, last we left, dear Atlan, he was focusing on doing some artificing. Some artificing. And
I would like for you to describe the sort of like bunk situation that's been set up for you at Pascal's engineering and artificing shop. Realizing that the long term of you staying with him and Kima would be stressful for, I mean, to some degree, all parties involved, but also not wanting to force you out onto the streets. Pascal has set aside a space for you in the shop, and I'm curious what you've made of it because it's been several weeks now, which has allowed you some free time to uh, utilize the tools in the shop. And I think you've been there for about a week when we see you. Everyone sort of like goes home for the night. We see you roll down the gates on the receiving door. We see you roll down the gates over the front entrance. We see you turn off all the lights in the entryway and walk back into the workshop. Which, except for just a couple of ancillary sort of like lights that stay on all the time, it is dark in here. We see little sort of just like workshop queue lights illuminating a station here dimly and another one over here. And I think we see you reach over and instead of heading to bed, flip on the big red switch, which we see just this cascade of illumination doof, 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 into the shop. And as you look in, there are many, many different workstations for you to choose from. And I'm curious what sort of project you've been working on that has helped you hone those artificing skills over the last few weeks to the point that even you are like, I can do something pretty significant now. Because artificing comes with a few different gadgets and gizmos, right? So what'd you learn how to make?
So, do you want me to go first to like a description of what Adlan's new living situation would be, or what he would
It's
have
up to you. It's up to you
like
where you want to start.
or
If you want to
other
start in
projects?
the room and make your way into the shop, if you want to, grab your gear and pull out some things, I think you might keep that project. I'm not sure how significant it is. Does it stay in the workshop? Is it something you keep tucked away with you until it's finished?
Well, it depends on whether this project would need to be as um, as a part of his artificing.
So it doesn't
And
have to be a mechanic. It doesn't have to be like if you looked at your list of like things that you could make. It doesn't have to be that. It is just I think whatever sort of Atlan is wrapping his head around. That's what I'm sort of getting at here. It could be something that would end up being magical. Could be something that already has some sort of magic imbued in it, which I'd love to hear how you're able to make things magic. Like I said, magic's not openly like practiced. So you also have a space where you can start to tap into your engineering skills to the point that you can start making magic. That's a pretty significant realization.
kind of magic. It's kind of naturally. I sorry, that was. You
You don't have
cannot.
to. You don't have to. You do not have to apologize for breaking into song. That
It's. I really. It. A single word out of a Queen song text
all it takes.
is perfectly sufficient for me to go into song. Yeah, it's a problem. Who are we kidding?
Is it a problem?
Well,
I don't think
sometimes
it's a. I wouldn't call it a problem. There people have problems that don't start with
okay. Let's
Queen
say
lyrics.
it certainly is a habit.
Fair.
Um, the first thing that would come to my mind is not necessarily something I have a immediate connection to in a sense of as a systemic function, like coming from the mechanical side and deployment of the rules, basically. But I think Atlan is very keen on being able to, as he lacks it in a social paradigm, to create in other situations the perfect tool or utensil for a job.
Okay. All right. All right.
Basically, like the big CNC machines and um, drilling monstrosities, where you basically can put on any kind of um, like
Tool. It's an
transitional.
interchangeable,
Yeah,
multifunction.
yeah, you have to just this interfacing. You have this interfacing module that you can change out to put any kind, basically, of tool into there that help you create things. And so, seeing how sometimes in the shop, or in general, sometimes maybe lack tools, he would like to methodize a way to make tools or to customize tools when there is a singular purpose or a very unique purpose, that there's a tool to be needed, so that he can provide this. That from his inaptitude basically of having the social capacities to sometimes do that, to at least have the mechanical appliance.
I like this. There's also something else we sort of talked about previously, which I think is at least amongst the things I would like to see you create, and that is the Guardian's Shield. And I think we talked about how you'd be able to, I mean, essentially cast Shield through using technology. And I'm curious what that looks like.
Shield to be cast.
Something you could do, you can pop off as a reaction.
Yeah. That is the thing. In Shield is mostly, if I remember correctly, it's only on yourself, isn't it? You cannot cast Shield on others.
Yeah. So you can cast a shield spell once with this trait, regain the ability to cast essentially once a day, sort of thing. So
it's more like a personal appliance.
Yeah.
that is an interesting conundrum, because you can go a very huge set of ways with this.
Yeah, you got a lot of choices.
Oh, something that I always like just as a concept. I don't know if did you have the opportunity to watch the newer Batman movies?
How new? I mean, I saw the Ben Affleck Batman movies. I haven't
No, no,
seen
no.
the
I
new.
mean, I mean,
Okay,
I mean
Christian
the new
Bale.
and completed series from Batman Begins to Batman
Yes,
Dark
yes,
Knight
yes.
Rises.
Yeah, yeah.
That is what I mean. And you have it is in the first movie, if I'm not mistaken. You have the scene where they are deep in the guts of Wayne Enterprise
hmm
and go through the
Right.
development phases,
Yeah,
and they have the fabric that, when electrified or stimulated through electricity, changes basically
it's
its
structure.
not only density but its surface structure.
Yeah.
And this as a concept, I really really enjoyed, like having having maybe basic clothing, or at least something that has the look of basic clothing,
hmm
but with some kind of stimuli is able to change in something that's maybe more like armor.
I like this. I like this. I think that I mean, first you've got access to whatever, I mean, carbon you want, whatever way you want to process it to charge it and essentially cause what you are wearing to tense up and take a blow that would otherwise hit you. I think is a very, I think it's a very interesting way of solving that. Um, where is the source of that magical energy?
Wouldn't it be a nice symbology if, without being a conscious decision, he would install it in a manner that whatever contraption it in the end would turn out to be, like body armor or some form of it, the source being over, like over the mark
Nice,
at the small
nice.
of his neck.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I think we see like a little brass panel, and just like a little, just so teensy little orb. It's like, like a little tiny camera lens sized little orb in the middle of this thing. Which, yeah, draws, I imagine, its power from that mark. Not a bad place to draw that energy.
And of course not because he would like to have advantage if he would theoretically make non-present like dice rolls that we are not going to do, but that would have been done in the world. He would, of course, not because of this, but because he likes her, would ask Kima to assist him. So basically going to her and just expressing the genuine and the unconditional respect for her
Sure.
that may sometimes lacking.
Plus, if you ask her to hit you with a steel pipe, she is going to jump at the opportunity. It's for science, right? She says with devilish intent in her eyes.
I don't even that's a beautiful interaction, but I meant more like that he goes to her and genuinely, without saying I just need another hand or something, that like going to her with the respect of an engineer talking to an engineer on
Sure.
an
Sure.
equal level, in an equilibrium, respecting her.
Yeah, she looks at you and goes, "So I I don't get to hit you with a steel pipe yet?
Well, if it comes out in the end, all right,
I
then
mean,
you will have.
how are you gonna test it if you don't hit it?
Yeah, listen, you will have the opportunity maybe to hit me with a pipe. You're very much too anticipatory about this.
It's fine. I'll help you make sure that it doesn't hurt. That's the point, right?
Yeah, the
Science.
scientific process. Yeah, that is what is gets
Science.
you excited.
Yeah. Uh, you're no fun. She tosses down the steel pipe.
And basically, I think he lets himself be inspired by her in design choices and things like that, where he would just be with his over pragmatism, just make it so it works. I think her refinement when it
Sure.
comes to engineering brings a more streamlined actually actually elegance to
I,
it.
I think that's fair too. I think that I think Atlan definitely has like the gears turning for how to like how he wants this to work. And I think Kima is very much like now let's make it awesome.
Yeah,
And
she has this additional level of thinking about it on a design perspective less than on a functional perspective.
sure.
I would at least assume.
So here's what I'm interested. Is this going to be a different like outfit, or are you going to incorporate this sort of effect into your standard, jacket,
I think that
sturdy
is
polyethylene?
you can almost put this into a little montage basically where you have these steps where it is bulky and exterior more like an exoskeleton that's put on top than anything else. And really through Kima's participation and her help and guidance becomes more and more streamlined, more and more minimal and subtle until it's would say something that he just has under his clothing, just
Sure.
on his skin basically. So it's very tight fitting and
Okay.
still provides this
Nice.
level of protection.
Yeah. So I think what we see is her working with you to essentially like print. Well, I think we see this device that you've created. And one of the things that it can do is like print. And I think we see her like printing using all sorts of materials. These panels to be stitched together later, but we see this sort of like imbuing of metal particles, uh, like so much so that the fabric has this almost like black metallic sheen to it in the light, from the amount of carbon content and the amount of copper and silver. Conductivity is important.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree.
Sweet. I love that. You do have a few.
I just had to thought. Just, uh, however it got there, there's like this maker's mark on one of the first more slick editions that is like tight fitting, and it's just the UA of Under Armour.
Nice. Yeah.
And just and then just where does this comes from? Oh.
No, it's just I thought it was cute because it's armor that goes under your clothes. Fine.
So it was just I had this remembrance of my time playing football, as it was. I
There you
like
go.
always had these pictures of Under Armour when I had gear of it. Like,
It's
yeah,
a
it's a little,
lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Under Armour.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It has a very interesting place in athletes' lives, I would say.
Truly.
Also,
Let's see here. Uh, Magical Tinkerer. You're a tinkerer now. You got some tinker time on your hands. You got tinker tools. What are you tinking?
um, maybe to have a little bit of a like of a work order. The first thing would be this living situations, and in the same way he is pragmatic about his environmental interactions. I think he is about the choice to live and design his living space. And so I don't. I'm very sure you know the picture, and I think they are called like Pelican Hardic um, boxes, like the
Oh, the hard
stereotypical.
cases.
Yes, the stereotypical military hard cases.
Yeah. I got you.
So I think it would be one of those
That
large enough to fit a standard and standardized bed inside, so that basically you can lift up the bottom part of it, and it almost is. It almost would then look like a bunk bed, basically,
hmm,
where you can just pull this up,
sure.
and there are the suspension systems on the side, and you pull it up, and there is the bed where you can lay in. You can close it up if you like, just the feeling of being in the um in yeah, basically a coffin.
Like a
But
pop up, yeah, like a pop up cot with a coffin lid.
yeah, you can pull it up, and I think then in the upper half there's like storage where you then can put things in. So very pragmatic design.
I like this. Yeah,
This is just then put into put into a very small, maybe genital form of genital space, like this very confined room.
there's there's a catwalk in the warehouse. The Pascal's office is on the far end of it,
Mhm.
and there's steps that go up to his office, and then his office are in like sort of like the back side of the building. But then there's a catwalk on this section here, and I think that if you wanted to put that, there's just a stairwell. You just have it
Under the
tucked
stairwell,
in.
oh, that's good. I like under the stairwell because you can basically then put it into a similar space where Adlon used to live, like on a catwalk with pipes and
Sure.
drainage and all this,
Yeah.
like, and the same systems where heat is basically transported
Yeah.
through pipe or something.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
it with the same instinct he found those in outer districts to sleep at night. He positioned his little mini living box on in the same spot basically.
How technical is the system here? Is it just it's compact, or is there something technological that contributes to this
I mean,
mechanism.
it is certainly like normally you would just have um like the rotating elements to just open and close close the box, but they are not there anymore, and they are replaced with suspension systems like on railings basically that have the function to settle and suspend, and that being changeable on levels basically, so you can put it up on different heights.
Sure.
So
Okay.
that
I like
is
it.
one element I would believe, and then I think also like maybe something like foldable curtains that he can still rise to close the box if it's
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, I like this. I like this for sure. I think the way that it seems like easiest is having to sort of like enter from the bottom, and then you've just got like two zippers, and then you could just pull down, crawl out, two
Yeah.
zippers, and yeah, I think we see at some point you regarding this material, and and I think we see a little floating orb of illumination inside of this space with you. One of the conjurations that you have artificed. Um, I like this. I like this a lot. Uh, let's take a quick second and talk about spells,
Hmm.
because I feel like we shouldn't play with open spell books with this character. He's just getting his artificing legs under him. He doesn't have the kind of holistic education that one would expect from one of my regular games.
They're also very unsimilar or different environmental.
Yeah, I would like for them to make sense for your character.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's a good idea. Adding spells, manage spells.
Manage them spells, boy.
Um, how many spells do I know?
You know all of them, I think. You've got ones to learn. What's your count here? Prepared spells. How many do you get? You get two first level spell slots. You get two cantrips and one spell.
Two cantrip, one spell. Got it.
And I would almost demand that mending be one of those cantrips.
Oh, I was about to say the very same thing. Mending. That is just a set.
I will also say I think that mending probably has a measure still of like you using the interchangeable like mechanisms. Like you've got your fold away welding tool. You can cast mending. You essentially are so good with these tools that you have an unnatural ability to fix stuff.
Mm, I like the idea of Adlin just binding to those people he holds in high regard, and I think on that level, message could be something interesting, as in in this cooperation with with Kima, they come to a point where this is a natural flowing process, and they
Interesting.
come up with more things and build things. And I think message would like just be this thing. Okay, what could we do? Like we could make something through which we could communicate.
I think that's an interesting way of doing it. I think we would have sort of a technological answer to that as well.
Yeah. Just
Um,
of course something technological, but in this process, like very much in this very juvenile
sure.
sense. Okay, what do we need to do? What could we build, or it would be fun, like if we can talk to each other.
I'm gonna throw out a couple more ideas here. Shocking grasp.
I mean, of course, this is like I understand this. I always have the imagery of the Korra series, like the Legend of Korra,
Mm-hmm.
where they have this shot glass. Like I really like them, and they are close to the setting. I feel like here, so that this is something that's easily committable.
What else? I thought there was something else here.
I like the idea also just of Spare dying just being shock pads. Like, don't die.
I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that.
It's just an imagery for it.
Sure. Boom, crap, I've dancing like fireball, frostbite, green flame, so mending's a definite go. I think message is interesting. I don't know if I'll be honest. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of mechanical use for it.
Mm.
And I don't also want to. I don't want to stifle it by saying it's technology. But at the same time, I do feel like there should be some technology tethered to it. I don't know. I'm looking for Eberron answers to Eberron questions.
No, and of course, I think that is not unreasonable in no in no regard really, because I mean, in the first place, you will only really use message at least most of the time with people that in the narrative you are already familiar with. So it's not unreasonable that these people that you are familiar with have the technological pretense of having something that keeps them in this loop of communication.
I like that. I might make that specific communication mechanically because I think it'd be very interesting for Kima to essentially function as a support character for you. And I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's interesting. I might just be like, if you want that for her, we could just say you guys essentially create some version of like sending stones, so that you can communicate back and forth. Because I do think that what you're drawing from, I think is. I'm also thinking as I think about the shocking grasp, I'm thinking about those knuckle dusters, those lever
Oh
handles that you
yeah.
have, and how easy it would be to both make those a technological stun gun, and for it to be subtle enough that the recipient might be the only one who's aware of why you hit them and then they just fall down. So there's also sort of some plausible deniability there. I wasn't casting magic. I just punched him very hard.
In this situation, I think Alan would not even answer, just raise their hands with the knuckle dusters.
Yeah, just put it back on my belt and go on with my life.
In the sense of, yeah, I'm a wizard. I cast fist.
Right. Yeah, I try. I like the idea of thunderclap, but I don't think. I think it's too overt for Atlan. I feel like he would make a scene that would alert people 100 feet in every direction. So let's do this. Let's just know that you can phone a friend with Kima. We'll whatever makes sense for that. We'll just say that the two of you have radios.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl, hey. Yeah, we see you riding around in the new work van, and and she's just spilling the
That's
tea.
with like the biggest sunglasses.
Yeah, yeah. And you got your nails did, and you got your iced coffee. And she's talking about office politics on the dispatch radio with you.
That is such a charming image. Oh no, absolutely cannot be let yourself be pushed around like that. That is just like, honestly, it's not okay.
Well, I never got around to getting to hit you with the steel pipe, so maybe I'll just practice on him instead.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, he asks for it, right?
Yeah, we'll just accidentally set something up that,
Yes.
I'm not gonna put him in the hospital,
No. And how would it be your fault that he runs into the pipe
exactly that I happened to be turning around with at the exact moment with force?
Yes. You're just a forceful, empowered individual.
Exactly. And if he mouths off one more time, I'm gonna connect an arc welder to his balls.
That's a quick escalation, but one I can appreciate.
I've worked with these guys since I was 2. I'm kind of done with their bullshit.
Oh my god, that's so good.
Speaking of assignments, we do actually see you driving back now from another sort of series of mundane items which you've scratched off your tin checklist. And as we see you turn the corner here in the work van, we see the door roll up. We see you pull in this smaller sort of like it's not as big as Pascal's work truck, but you don't usually need as much to get the job done. And oftentimes, what you're doing is going out, retrieving things that need to be repaired in shop, and then delivering those items. Not everything can be done on site, and so there's some bench work to be done, and some of it's just not for you. You go out and fix a thing, and then you go pick up something that one of the other guys is going to fix, and then you go fix something else, and then you deliver that, and then you take something that has been fixed and you go run that. So you've been working as a runner during the days, fixing things on the fly, and then you've got your evenings to yourself. But as you bring your little van into the shed here, you see Pascal is having a nice little conversation with Kima.
I have to say for a moment, it is so refreshing going with this new perspectivization onto a spell list of just looking at different spells and seeing a more mechanical grounded explanation for them, just for something as simple as compelled duel. Like,
Right?
compelled duel is a wrench that you throw at someone's head and
Yeah,
say,
right?
fight me.
Bang! What do you want to do about it? What do you want to do about it, big boy?
And just like grease is a can of oil.
It's just grease. It's just grease.
It's just, oh, it's so good. Like even fairy fire, like fairy fire can
Oh
just be
yeah.
road flare. You just toss a road flare somewhere.
Right. And you know exactly where you're headed. Um and if you can't see them, it's because they're right there on the other side of the smoke. Uh yeah, lots of fun to choose from here. As you look, you see Pascal and Kima cutting it up. You see that except for one of the older guys who waves as you come in, everybody else has left for the day. And you pull into the shop, and the door rolls down behind you. And as you get out, you see these two. They look like they swallowed the proverbial canary. Kima's got a big, we call them shit-eating grins on her face, and Pascal looks like he's plumb tickled too, and uh,
Wonderful.
Kima holds up a tin work order and sort of wiggles it, sending a reflection towards your face from the workshop lights.
And Adeline coming into the scene just has his, in a very tired out expression, I would say. His vest or jacket over his shoulder already out, the hair disheveled, the arms oily and sudden, and the face stained also. Oh, I just got done with this one. I can we not do this tomorrow? Like I
Um, uh, they look at each other and smile again. And as they do, Kima steps forward and says, "Oh, it is a work order for tomorrow. You're gonna need to look your best, though." And as she hands you the work order, you see like a checklist of inspections to be done on like every aspect of a pretty whatever the place is you're looking at. There's heating, there's cooling, there's storage, there's reclamation, there's lighting, there's just regular plumbing, there's cleaning equipment. There, it is like front and back. And as you look at it, you see that at the top there's an address. It says you are you period R period, and then it says NE. Oh, bear with me just a second. 22.35. And then there's a dot, and then there's another series of numbers, which you do recognize as an address. It is the northeast quadrant, 22 degrees, and then depending on where you are on this ring, it's going to sort of give you details of what sort of section you're looking at here.
Mhm.
And as you look at it, you realize that the UR designation is upper ring. And you've really only worked down here in the drain, except for a couple of real quick and dirty plumbing things that essentially other people couldn't get to that are on the upper ring. And Pascal's not the only game in town. And so, if they don't have to call somebody up out of the dark depths of the city, they rarely do. And Pascal turns around and says, "You're going to want to look your best for this." And he
And,
turns around and he unzips like a suit bag.
yeah,
Uh,
Adeline still looking at the sheet. Is she turning it over in his hand? Then without really looking up from it, but turning into the direction of Kima. Well, looks like someone got themselves an uppity boyfriend.
Pascal gets quite the chuckle from it. He says, I think you might like this guy. He's a character." But I also want you to understand that, and he pulls the shoulders of this bag over and shows you a brand new uniform. It is a heathered gray, but its cleanliness is its first sort of the first thing you pick up off of it. It has very light gray on like the outermost layer of this very heavy multi-denier fiber or multi-denier material with big, thick, you know, PETE nylon sort of on the outer layer, and then progressively smaller and smaller fibers, which give it this sort of PK look to it, which gets darker with each of the deeper fibers. Really adds a lot of depth to it. Very sharp looking, very smart tailoring to it as well. And you see Pascal's logo on one side, and then you see Atlan on the other side. And then you see underneath it lead technician.
And just Atlan being like emotional despondent in a sense of neurodivergency, still recognizes the gesture very much, um, but but returning to his cynical demeanor, or at least cynically understood, just says, "Wow, that is I certainly turn. Always figured I would be beaten up by uniforms not wearing them."
He smiles and says, "Don't worry about it. It's just a formality."
Well, whatever it needs, I guess.
He says, "You also are gonna want to freshen up."
And he looks down, and he really takes some solid seconds to recognize what does he mean? Oh, it's so normal for him to look this way that he just really needs an inappropriate amount of time to comprehend what is said.
I will also say this: looking down at your hands, the amount of work yet to be done, if you have to get clean, means that you're going to have to fight against that fatigue of being run all over town over and over and over again today. Um, so you do sort of have your work cut out for you. And I want to check one more thing here, just real quick. Uh,
Oh, it's so cheesy and cheap in a sense. but the only thing that could logically follow this scene in my mind would be like a smash cut scene of him being dressed up or have a makeover, so to say, just on the soundtrack of Uptown Girl.
I love that. I was actually leaning towards a shower scene, which is to say that you see Kima. She tosses you a small rectangular device, and as you, it looks like it's made of two parts. And as you turn it over, you see a hole in one of those sides, and it looks like the connector for a vacuum line. And she says, "Get scrubbed up. This guy apparently wants someone that looks, well, more than presentable. At least more presentable than you do right now."
And he looks at Kima. Presentable?
Yeah, you look like somebody just pulled you out from under a truck.
Yeah, I don't think that is the problem. That generally I understand that even though I do not share this oppressive cultural view. So that being said, I don't associate the word presentable in general with me. So that's the problem I'm more hinting at.
Yeah. But listen, here's the thing. Pascal says, "Hey, hang on, Kimo." Then uh, he holds up his hands. Every bit as fucking greasy and grimy as yours, and then some. You can see calluses through the thick coating of carbon on his hands. He says, "I don't begrudge you. I don't. But here's the thing. This guy's got a pretty impressive resume. And I'm not sending you up there to work, sending you up there to find out what needs to be done. He wants someone he can trust, and he wants someone that's smart. And, well, if I was looking for someone who's smart that I can trust, well," and he looks at you.
Yeah, just showing how bad of a judge of character you are, really. This last person I would call with this
Uh,
parameter.
he says, "Notwithstanding, you're going to go up there. You're going to represent us well. And if you do a good job just telling the guy what needs to be dealt with and what doesn't, we're going to have a very comfortable contract with him."
Well, sounding out your worst socializer will certainly do the job.
He doesn't want to get schmoozed. He doesn't want to get sold. He doesn't want, he wants a technician. He wants someone who actually understands what's going on here. Don't worry. Just be you. Just tell the guy. He's got enough charisma for the both of you, I promise.
Well, that is not the technical aspect of that. That I can understand. That's not the problem. But the mechanic you sent, who has this aptitude, is also red from the street and live in these conditions because there are guys like him.
He says, "But you don't know who I'm talking about, do you?"
No, it's up here. They're all the same.
Huh. This guy came from the gutters.
Bullshit.
I kid you not. He says, Abel Kustis was a street urchin. He says, it's
Maybe something to
roll me a history check.
just in a sense of urban
Yeah,
mythology.
yeah. I mean, there is definitely a chance you've heard of this guy.
Let's see. Man, I really feel a connection, but just because I finished it so recently with the Arcane series, like the League of Legends
Sure.
thing, because it has such similarities, at least in setting, but also in sentiment. I would at least prescribe. So, I think that's an 11.
You feel like you've heard the name. It's never struck a chord with you necessarily. It'd be like if somebody said Michael Smith at a restaurant somewhere, and you're like, "Do I know Michael Smith?" I don't know. There's like 700,000 Michael Smiths.
It's an aspect of genericity.
In this case, the name is so generic, which is why it does stand out in your memory. But it does seem that whatever you know of them, it is just hearsay in passing. Um, and as you're like, I've heard of the guy. Pascal goes over and he goes to the machine that prints the tin work order tickets.
Yeah.
And he starts to play with this keyboard. And there's a bunch of different sigils and whatnot on it. It's not a anglophone sort of keyboard here. And as he does, you begin to hear the of this like laser cutting into this sheet of tin. And as it finishes its little cutting path, you see him reach down, pull the tin out by a little wooden clasp at the bottom, and hold it up. And as he does, you see a devilishly handsome gentleman. He has drawn features, high cheekbones, very highly arched brows, and he has dreadlocks, which sort of halo his head significantly. And you can see that sort of in this bust, he has sort of a high neck, like high collar, and like an ascot, and what looks like a very nice, just whatever you see of the lapels, pretty nice looking jacket. But he looks like he's about to win a card game as you look at him. And he says,
Kind of expressiveness.
"Yeah, he's just got this like you're fucked now, pal." Delight on his face, and Pascal says, "Listen, Abel is successful, but I was gonna say he's not an asshole. That's not true. He's definitely an asshole, but he's not the worst out there. That's for sure. And he does know a thing or two about having to scrape and claw to get by."
Atlan is in his head and wanting to repay, as he still holds, at least in some way, to this transactional understanding of social relationships, these two individuals that invested in him so fervorously. He takes the time to think about it with over one arm the uniform, and the other the work order, and raises his head to meet Pascal's eyes and just says, Well, just success has a border. You can only be so successful before there's a question on which backs you build that success and whose blood you spill to do it. I will
He's
do
go
what is written here, what you need of me, but I will not meet this man with kindness, just
uh,
with all the neutrality I can muster.
uh, he says, "Listen, I know I picked the right guy for the job. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine."
I don't will take shit from anybody.
Oh God! He claps you on the shoulder, Atlan. You've got to to chill out, man. You really do. Uh, he
Like covered in scars.
Yeah, he just like pats you on the shoulder. He says, "We gotta go. First thing, sun up. Be there."
When the day ever was not there where it needed to be.
Good answer. He turns. He says, "If I don't see you before you go, good luck." And he hops in the van and cranks it over. And you see Kima. She's still hefting the steel pipe. No, she does sort of give you a fist on the side of your thigh, and she says, "Hey, don't worry about it. You'll be back in the grime in another day or two, I promise."
For a moment, I thought you would just do the Fonzie, just hey.
Hey, that's I mean, my favorite part though is when you just grab the comb, you look in the mirror, and you go, I don't even need it. Too good looking.
I
Uh,
also have expressions of like, yeah, you can do that.
yeah, as they begin to back out, you see that rolling door kick up, and as it does, you begin to see those thin tendrils of carbon begin to rain in onto the edge of this warehouse floor. And as they back out, their headlights turn an orangey yellow and then into a deep red as they begin to back out. And then you see that door begin to descend again. And then we see a series of blowers that sort of sweep across the floor, and a series of vacuums which kick up that carbon and then reclaim it very effectively. Um, and you're going to probably want to do the same thing because what Kima gave you is essentially a wand of prestidigitation. And what you'll do is essentially hook that to a vacuum line for reclamation.
I thought it would be like a universal cleanage item.
Yeah, essentially that's what it is. What you do is you're going to hook it up to the vacuum line. You're going to separate these two parts. This part is essentially going to just
Uh,
like laser off the carbon, and then the bottom part is going to suck in all of that carbon and reclaim it. And you're going to have to spend some time getting
just
all that off.
muttering to himself, presentable. Of
Yeah.
what that even mean?
Yeah, and we start to see these little flakes of carbon begin to just sort of blast off of your skin, and we can start to see the scars that were hidden from all of that dense material. And it takes more than a few passes, and with each, we see that lighter and lighter skin present itself, and this carbon being drawn away. and we see you take this thing all over town, and there's a note from Kima as you open your bed to call it a night. And as you look in, it says, "Make sure you don't smell."
And he picks up the note, reads it.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's hurtful. I don't smell. Oh, okay, fair. Puts the note down.
Yeah. And yeah, I think a little degreaser and a little pumice cleanser ought to be just what the doctor ordered. Hey bud, how do you sleep these days?
The nature of Atlan's sleep was, for all intents and purposes, mostly functional, I would believe,
Sure.
in any meaningful capacity.
Required
Yes, a requirement, just maintenance
to function.
in a sense, yes.
Sure.
To precipitate functions, yes. And the only thing that would change, or would have changed ever so slightly, just as in the conversation with Kima, where it was revealed or was discussed that there is a difference in surviving and living. He acquired some of this understanding. Yeah, I can sleep to survive, but I can also sleep to build a better life balance or better life experience.
Perchance to dream.
I don't think he is at this stage, but he certainly can accept sleeping as a commodity.
Sure. I do want. I mean, I think that when I say dream, I think we see more of what Atlan does, just in perhaps just grander schemes. The way that you process information, the way that you see how the gears and the pipes and the pressure all work together, and where they go awry. I think you find yourself drifting to these thoughts, and then suddenly time has passed. And I think we see a small, essentially, version of an alarm clock, a little wind up thing that you've created that essentially gives you the precise amount of sleep that you want. You wind it up, you set it by the bed, and then when it goes off, there's
it's very spherical.
And it's like yay big.
Yeah, just so it can be just pop up one of the half spheres and then make an alarm sound, so you can, as not unlike to a buzzer, just
I like that. Yeah, I think we can see sort of a dial on it, where you just sort of like twist it to little hash marks for quarter and half hours.
Yeah, a little bit like this egg timers.
Yeah,
like this.
Yeah, love that. Just more compact. And I mean, we just hear. We don't even hear the ding 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 ding. We just hear bing bang. And we see you get out, and we see you already with that base layer on, this shimmering silvery gold blackness.
He would not part with this.
Not a chance.
He always wears it.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why you would. and then we see you don this. It's stiffer. You know,
I even think this is a allowance almost for him to give a little bit more into this very strange form of living, that he has this thing that keeps him safe as a basically as a trait to try to do all this but still have something to fall back on, and this is this safety tool basically for himself.
yeah.
So I think this is also the reason he wears it.
I think it's also very appropriate that you're like. It is very unlikely that someone is going to come flying into another go kart and kick me out of it and knock me unconscious. But
In the
I'm not. But it's not going to be for lack of trying to stop them in the future. Yeah. I think we see you. You don this heather gray jacket and sort of acknowledge the patch Pascal's, which has this almost sort of like streamlined, very forward
even
font.
even though being prone to pride or even really understanding this way of thinking, and also being somewhat incapable of passing the emotional component, he still recognizes the great meaning of this concession from Pascal to him.
Yeah.
So, and he really savors this thought as he pulls the uniform on and goes to finish up with straighten the outfit and seeing that his tools are widely administered in his belt and everything, and that he looks somewhat presentable, even though he do not really understands the term of that, and goes to, for a moment now, seeing his hands without a sudden grime in their very narrative, natural way, where they are telling a lot of the hardship he has gone through, and is for a moment halfway done putting his work gloves already on, but he makes a conscious decision just to leave them off, and it shows.
Yeah, I think as you load up this van, you realize that none of the things that are on this list require tools. They are all inspections. They're all like you're not being asked to go out and do work. You're being asked to go out and essentially consult on what needs attention.
Consolidation work. Interesting. Yeah, I think he is an hour in advance ready for this, just waiting on his bunk and basically indoctrinating himself to being able to go in an environment that facilitated the cruelty and the abysmal things he had to go through as a child, in a sense that people that live where he now goes only live there because people like him live here the way they do.
Sure.
And just being sure that he understands why he does this, and will not be prone to overreact or being overly overly receptive of at least so perceived agitations.
Well, we're just gonna have to see how agitated you get when you meet this guy. As we see the door from the warehouse roll up, we see your little van kick into gear and back up into a much thinner plume of smoke, and see those headlights begin to dim as you back this vehicle out, and we see that door drop back down again as you turn around and make your way northward.
Okay.
As you do, we see you traveling down, I mean, many darkened streets. The van is, I mean, comparably, are you familiar with the Kangoo Rouge? The Renault Kangoo is about the size of the van
Yeah.
that you've got here. And that's the only European vehicle I know. And so we see just sort of like your two headlights and then a big beam, like bar light, cutting through the smoke here as you drive down these streets almost reflexively. And I think you're sort of biting your lip, thinking about how you got to go shake hands with some muckety muck up topside. And it just puts a real bad taste in your mouth. As you continue northward, there's a sort of an elevator almost that you see other vehicles and individuals sort of going up. It's almost like a water wheel. It just sort of like keeps going. There's enough time to drive onto the platform, and then it starts to lift up, and then you see the next group of people drive onto the next platform, and it goes up. And it's not insignificant. You know, you are, I believe, about a good 200 feet down, and pretty significant structures are rise up in the middle of the drain here. And as you are flagged on by one of these ushers, I guess, you make your way onto this platform. As you do, you come to a stop. You feel it underneath you, and as you look in the rearview mirror, you can see the city rising up along with you, and you start to see the first faint blue cut in behind you, dividing this soft illumination from the darkness below. And as you rise up to this second level, you can see that at this point the sky is starting to get that. I like to call it, you stayed up too late drinking and now you're going to regret it kind of illumination.
I mean, I know this illumination on the similar title. I can emphasize with this. It is the I stayed up too long playing video games or
Also acceptable. Yep.
Or working on
Sure.
script.
Working, not so much on my case. I try not to work that hard at anything.
I mean, it's not working for me. I love doing scripts.
I said what I said.
Said what I said.
I said what I said. And as you rise up to the second level, yeah.
What is the incarnation of a German/European car for me? Like, it is the
Skoda.
Volkswagen T1, Volkswagen Transporter.
Okay, yeah. I like that. You're on the right track. As you pop up onto the upper ring, your vehicle is automatically sort of shuffled off of this platform, and you feel the car sort of ka-chunk, and you know you got to get the hell out the way before the next person comes. But as you look out, you can see a pretty nice kind of environment. It's not ridiculous. It's not opulent. It's just like just definitely not covered with a thick layer of carbon and existential dread.
Oh, what is this on your car? Oh, that's just a thick layer of
That's
carbon. Essential dread.
just a thick layer of carbon and existential dread. That's what's on. That's what's on my car. Yeah. As you look ahead, there's a plaza. There's many vehicles here. The inner ring seems to be reserved for vehicles which you already see loading and unloading to a number of the businesses and shops and offices here. And you sort of fall into this weird, like commuter situation for a moment there. And as you look down at the directions, you realize you're at the far north end of the ring, and you go down. You see from the address that they're like the fifth ring in this sector here, and you can pretty much figure out. You're a smart guy. You know how addresses work. And as you pass the 22nd degree mark, you turn to your left and look out from the van, and you see a very large building. It looks like it's about 5 stories tall. It has concrete levels with a glass face. And there are columns that support 5 different outdoor sort of like porches, patios, decks on each of these floors. And as you look inside, you see there's a hallway with just sort of like light white, almost a pinky sort of white, which stands in slight contrast to the light gray concrete the rest of this structure is made of, and it runs quite a ways down the block. And as you look down, well, the addresses match.
Positioned in front of this door and seeing this opulence. He looks at it and looks up to the building. Well, sure. What else would it be? Let's see what he has to say. I'm just tucks it in and
Cool. Let's see if I can get you a little touch of inspo here, because I have a particular idea of what I'd like. Oh, here we go. There we go. Now we're great. Here we go. I'm just gonna sort of hit you up in the Discord, I think. Here we go. Bing, boom, bang, boop, and
okay, yeah. I know that style.
let me just drop this in here so that I can share it with everybody. This is very much like so from. Yeah, not quite. There's not like a pool out front here, but you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, layers. But this is the general aesthetic. This is what you look at. It does sort of curve around as you look at it, and what do you do?
A little bit dependent on the spatial interfacing. What is to say, how is there a recognizable pathing for him to go through? So is there a bell to be rung? Is there a path to be followed? Obvious means of approaching.
Roll me a perception or insight check, please.
Only a perspective check.
Roll me, yeah. Listen, if you roll for perspective, I will give you some. And the worse you roll, the more accurate and pointed it will feel.
That's a 12.
As you look around, it doesn't seem like there's a very apparent place for you to put a van.
Okay.
There's a street here, but it doesn't look like there's parking out front. In fact, as you sit there hemming and hawing, you hear a rapping, not so gently tapping on the window of your van. And you hear muffled, "Hey, bud, you lost?"
And he turns to see who he's addressed by.
Yeah, he looks like a hopped up sort of security guard. He's got on a black cap. He's got on a black jacket, which is definitely too small to hide the reinforced body armor that he has on. And he's got sort of some tactical pants, and he's got a baton in his hand, which he just tapped on your window with.
Lowering the window and having the internalized reaction of evaluating the threat this individual poses, and directly thinking in an interactive way, okay, how would I
dispatch said individual?
How would I dispatch of him?
Roll me an insight check, please.
Yeah. Why are those insight checks always so stupidly high? It's an 18. I think it's 1.
Yeah, I think that the way you do this is roll down.
Actually, it's +4, so it's 22.
Yeah, you think roll the window all the way down, wait for the baton to come across the threshold, grab the baton, pull, open the door, break his arm, and then punch through the door under his chin as he's starting to lean back, and then break his knee as you step out of the van, and then just bang one right to the temple as he goes to the ground.
Atlan just moves surreptitiously enough that it is no obvious threat, but in a way that communicates this capability, or at least this thought process of him that he would be able to do this without actually doing something, just maybe a little bit too quick movement.
Why don't you roll me a deception check?
Yeah. Go on. That's a 17. I don't think I'm good at deception though. No, it's a 1. So 18?
He sees you flash this like this is how I'm gonna kill you look, and then try and shift hard into like, no, I didn't just look at you and calculate how to kill you. I promise. And this guy looks at you, and he says, "Are you okay? Do you have a problem?"
I'm sure nothing that you could solve. But however, um, I'm invited for inspections and pointing on Pascal's logo and flashing the work order.
Uh,
Particularly seeing a way of parking.
he looks over and sort of bites his lip. And he says, "You're here for Kuskadet. Um, next block, there's a service entrance under the building."
Thank you kindly. Have a nice day. I'm just putting.
Yeah, as you drive away, he sort of eyeballs. You can see him in the rearview mirror, eyeballing you still. But as you go down past this building, you do see a cut in between this building and the next one.
Why,
Uh,
why is it so fun to fuck with people
oh, it's
in,
so good.
in such ways?
Roll me another perception check, please, as you drive down the block between these two buildings and then turn to your left.
And it's a 24.
Okay. As you get to the far side of this building, it's large. This is a significant structure. But what looks weird as you consider this is that the the ring that sort of covers the city only allows for so many hours of daylight on any given day. You seem to have reached the edge of it as you look up at this building and see it tapering down. And there's just some like gated storage. It looks like there's bundles of cable. It looks like there's like little trolleys and trailers. There's some outbuildings behind this fence that goes up and over this storage area, and you can see that the edge of this cover is right here. Something you haven't been up here that long or that deep into the upper ring to realize that there's that's enclosed. And while you're grappling with that, you look to your left and you see a concrete driveway that goes down, and you see some double doors, and you see cameras on either side, and you actually see from this side of the building, it's a little less sterile. You see plants inside the glass windows. Lots of them. Like there's greenhouses on a couple of different levels of this building. There's even potted plants just sitting in the hallways here and there. Big banana leaf pressed against the window where sun never comes. And as you drive down, you see a little intercom on a wall and a little camera looking out at you. Just a little orb scrying.
I think reluctantly still processing this intake a little bit, he engages this system.
Yeah, as you reach out, there's a little button, and then you hear, hello and welcome to Kustis and Company. How may we help you today?
Pascals, here for inspections.
You hear what sounds like the very quick rustling of paper. Yeah, almost. It's a little more metallic sounding, as if you'd taken like a stack of these tin work orders and just sort of like shuffled them like a deck of cards. And then you hear, yes, Atlin, admission granted. And you see the door begin to rise up. And as you look inside, you see a beautiful sort of like seafoam green light in here. It just is a sort of like a faint pastel sensation. It's a little disarming, and at the same time a little jarring because you're used to seeing either darkness or harsh light. There's not really softness is not something that you would ascribe to illumination. And there's this sort of like soft grotto-esque sort of light inside of here. And as you look inside, you see a number of vehicles from individual sort of like contained like pods, three-wheeled pods, to larger like people moving, almost like little buses.
Nothing you said after Seafoam Green was separable for me from this soundtrack of Under the Sea.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's got that, you know.
I just heard it in my back,
Listen,
in the back of my head, playing while you said it.
Here's the thing. Down where it's wetter, it's down where it's better.
Take it from me. Up on the shore, they work all day.
They work all day out in the sun, slave away. All right, but seriously, as you go in, it's this sort of disconcerting and comforting illumination. And as you see a visitor's tag on one of the spots, you pull in, and as you begin to get out of the van, you see a woman question mark walk onto the scene. And if this were a movie, there'd be some like smooth jazz with like a saxophone playing. As she strides onto the scene, she is a little more salacious, and as very sultry. And as you look over,
talking sexual healing.
Not somewhere between what you just sang and sexual healing, somewhere in there. If you average those out, the mean of those two songs is what plays in the background. As you see again, woman question mark. She is made of polished brass. She stands about 5'9". She does not have hair. But you can see that she is constructed of many different interlocking, movable plates of metal. And immediately your mind springs to how the fuck is she put together? And the answer is like this. Because she's wearing a dark navy dress jacket with a white blouse with a very classic looking pearled what are they called? The little silhouette, like the relief silhouettes they do in Meerschaum and Ivory. And it is actually a portrait of her, sort of in profile, with little Baroque pearls. And she's wearing a pencil skirt, uh, which does not do anything to hide her almost Pixar-like proportions. And her legs taper to a very loud set of polished navy heels,
So,
which click against the ground with an authority that is undeniable. And say again.
it is undeniably Pixar-like.
Yeah. She's a brick house. She's mighty, mighty. She doesn't seem to be letting anything hang out, but that doesn't mean you can't still see what she's working with. And that is a lot of brass and probably steel, and God only knows what else. Her eyes uh, seem to be the most human part of her.
Mhm.
as
So,
you as you look at her, they're so lifelike.
so what you are saying is that there are a tremendous amount of people who would pay a lot of cash for her to do certain things with them.
Just to step on them, just to literally physically
Exactly what I
step
mean.
on them with her
Yeah.
high heels. Yes. You're. I don't know if Atlin sort of considers that, but if I saw her, I'd be like, that was a robot that was specifically designed to step on men who enjoy that kink. Yeah.
Uh, I
and
think
and ladies too, and non-binary individuals as well. Being stepped on is not a
not
kink
this kind of
relegated to men.
not this kind of drive, but Edland very slowly gets out of the car after it's parked and carefully approaches this entity, and just without any introduction or anything, just being the very unfiltered individual he is. So how does this work?
That is what you're here to ascertain. Oh, I'm sorry. You were speaking more of your responsibilities here. Well, you will follow me, and I will acclimate you to
No,
what
no,
we
no, no,
do.
no, no. How this? And I don't mean this in an offensive way. How does this work?
I. She looks down at herself, and she looks at her hands made of brass hands and flingies. You can see the little white lace cuffs of her blouse sticking out precisely from under the cuffs on her jacket. She says, with as much efficiency as I can muster from moment to moment, and sort of with a question mark at the end of that statement.
All right. I don't mean to pride, but that's an impressive feat of engineering. And he just looks a little bit sideways.
Please, my ocular receptors are up here.
Oh, I didn't mean to be indecent. It's just like
May
very good.
we please begin?
Oh, of course.
She turns and begins to stride away. And as she does, you can see that the backs of her heels are like they're like the same kind of brass, all the way down to where they like strike the floor. And there's a grace to her movements, but even in that grace, it is easy to realize that This individual is both thick and dense. And she strides towards a white door, which slides into the wall as she approaches it. There are no scrying orbs or anything like that on this door. It just moves out of the way, and we see you sort of looking in down this corridor as she turns around and says, "I often hear that time is money."
No, well, it's a little bit of a mistaken expression. It's the time of others that you're a slave. That's money.
Uh, she raises a brassy eyebrow, which hinges at 2 points for articulation. And as she looks back at you, she says, "An interesting perspective." And then she turns without another word and continues down this corridor.
Yeah, he follows. Um, follows decisively and as courteous as he can muster, and so that you don't ask any further questions beyond what he did, and responds if he's asked something, but very in this very rough manner that he usually does.
Yeah, I mean it's a dry exchange for sure. As she leads you down these corridors, she turns to the left. She walks down another hall. She takes another left, and you're sort of in a. This space is very sterile. Lots of big double doors, which she doesn't seem to pay attention to, sort of leads you around and then back and then to the right. And then she reaches down and pushes on a spot where a lock should be and twists both knobs and begins to open up a set of doors and stride inside of a very large and very active room. Inside here, you didn't think the room was gonna be quite this big. But as you look at it, again, it looks very much like the 3D pipes screensaver. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like densely packed with a bunch of different pipes and electrical conduits. There's all sorts of different monitoring systems. Like you look over to your right, there's a guy sitting there in a white jacket. He has a white mask on and a white hat. He's got clear plastic glasses and looks up at you and squints a little bit, and then goes back to monitoring the 2 dozen or so gauges in front of him on a small ivory box of a console. And this woman turns to you and she says, "I am Pip. I apologize for not having introduced myself earlier."
Well, something that we have in common. I'm also not very much the courteous type, as he shakes the hand. I'm
Uh,
sorry if I got off rude there. Just not the kind of guy for conversation.
uh, I would have never known. Please. And she gestures in. Can I get an Arcana check from you as you start to look around this room?
Yeah, I think Arcana was plus. Yeah, +2. Alright, so that's a 14.
Uh, yeah. So The as you look through here, you're not quite sure what the hell's going on. You see systems that seem incongruous. They don't seem to all like fit together. As if there's either different systems doing different things in this room, or there's a process that's involved here that is not yet resonating with you, which is already a disorienting sensation in and of itself. Because usually you look at something and you're like, yeah, that's how
Yeah.
it works.
Well,
Uh,
I think at the meeting this resistance, or this being in the state of confusion, he slows his steps following this individual and just says, well, again, not to be rude and certainly not wanting to be transgressive, but why exactly am I here? Because this is pretty much something, when it's maintained and done properly, that you would already need a standing service that does what I can do, and maybe does it even better than me. So why am I here?
she turns around and looks at a clipboard and shuffles a few pieces of tin. And she gets to the third sheet and she says, "You are Atlin, correct?"
That's my name.
Excellent. And you work for Pascal.
That's what I do.
And you are here to inspect these facilities.
Right.
We have had several contracts with individuals. A few of them are competent enough to service the machines that we use from day to day. The individuals who monitor them and the individuals who utilize them do not possess the same level of skill and knowledge that Abel Custos had when he created them.
Yeah, referring to her mentioning of former contractors
Mm-hmm.
and their attitude, she just turns and looks at this wild convulsing of complex mechanical structures,
Yeah.
just with a hand and the back of her said, "Yeah, well, I can see that."
Yeah, this does. I believe there is at first a daunting sensation. Feeling like, okay, I guess I'm just going to be the next guy on the chopping block. Because currently you don't understand what the hell they're doing in here. And she says, I believe that it was very clearly detailed what sorts of inspections you would be performing while you are here. And she flips another page. She says, it was quite a thorough list. Hopefully, you will be able to get to everything.
While she's saying that, he unsheaths his work, or his copy of it,
Sure.
and flashes. Yeah, I have the list, not the technicalities. It's more a sense of reasoning I do not quite understand.
Reasoning is beyond my operating program. It's not programming. Between my operation requirements.
Okay,
And I'm not one to speculate.
shame. Interesting thing that. speculations.
She sort of furrows a brow. It just sort of waves from one to the other as she processes that. Yeah. You can hear the little articulations click and activate as this edge rises, and then this section, and then this section, and then as this one sort of like hinges, you see this one up and then hinge down, dink, dink, dink. And she looks up at you. And roll me another perception check. With the two of you face to face now.
That's the two of us.
That's right.
That's a 15.
As you look in her eyes, you can see that there's something moving behind them. Something that seems to open and close the iris with a very natural sort of consistency, but behind it there's also something twisting and focusing, and it's a little distressing not understanding how that works. I want to do a bit of a montage here, because she's not going to stick around. She's going to put you to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd like to see, as you mark off each of the items on these lists, I want to get like 6 Arcana checks.
That's fair. Oh boy, that's like, just this spread is so ridiculous. Wait a minute. I have to see if I can show this. I cannot get close enough.
No. Something's gonna break. Hang on. 4, 1, 1. I don't know. I can't. It's too close. I can't.
So, I mean,
We
almost
tried. Oh no.
9.
Oh, there we go.
It's 9, 8, 9, 18, 20, 20.
Okay. This room, you're like, I don't even know. God, you're so frozen. It's so funny. You might need to unplug and replug that camera just to get. There you go. I'll wait till you come back just to make sure we see and hear. I like that paint. Well, that art. How's everyone doing? What's up? Are you guys having a good time?
Can you hear me again?
I can
That's
hear.
really
I can hear you again. Can you hear me? Sorry for the interruption. I was talking to you. Yeah, thanks for coming and checking us out. There's only about a half hour left in our game tonight. That's given that maybe Ben comes. Oh, there he is. Speak of the devil.
Yeah, just need to restart here.
So just grab a quick water if you need. Come back.
So just you got the spread there.
Let's see here. I got 9, 8, 8.
Oh, okay. It's 9, 8, 9, 18, 20, 20.
18, 20, 20. Okay. This room, you don't know what the hell's going on. You're like, I don't know. Like, you're like, okay, that thing is monitoring pressure.
Yeah. So just the bonus is +2 for all of those.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think you get the like individual systems in here. You're like, yeah, this is monitoring pressure. What you don't see is what is causing the pressure that they're monitoring. You look around the room, there's pipes coming through here, there's conduits.
Yeah. One of the items in the tool belt, the front part of the bandolier.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a notepad, and he just takes it out and furiously
Sure.
is sketching and writing in a very complexly parsed way.
Sure.
How
I
he
imagine
thinks.
he's got his own sort of shorthand for how he takes
Yeah,
certain
it's
notes.
just the abbreviation of language and concepts in a way that still makes sense to him,
Sure, of course.
and this then put in a very tight in a tight spacing.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, as you take a flurry of notes in here, you sort of go through. It doesn't seem like anything's out of sorts. As you look at each of the dials, everything seems to be where it's supposed to be, I guess. Nobody's sounding any alarms. Nothing seems to be operating less than optimally, you guess. As you make your way to the HVAC system, however, you can see that you go through and sort of temp each of these like return lines to make sure that you don't have, coolant that's overheating. And actually, as you go through, you see that two of the return lines are like way over what you would expect for a structure like this to be returning. Like, to keep it cool in here shouldn't be that hard. And so, whatever's causing that, you're like, okay, we need to take a look at these systems over here because obviously there's something wrong with those systems. You also see that uh, all of these coolant return lines sort of funnel into one line, which, as you sort of think about it, you're like, okay, I guess if you average out the temp of these two lines coming back and these 6 lines coming back, you're still within this like acceptable threshold. But these two lines are like, you're talking about 60 degrees Celsius warmer than what they should be.
That sounds significant.
It's significant.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, we got a win over here. You feel like if you could trace those two lines to wherever they go in the building, you'd get a good gauge for that. As you look at the systems that are handling the air pump and stuff like that through the building, I don't know if we lost you again or not. Maybe. There's some sound.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, but camera is not doing as it is told to.
You listen here. Oh, did you turn it back on in the in Google in the Meet?
I did.
I don't know what to tell you, bud. We're just gonna have to play the game without having to look at you.
What a
It's not my
shame.
it's not my favorite style. Gotta be honest. I do like looking at
Oh, that's nice of you.
you. Yeah, but as you go through, you're like, okay, everything seems to be pretty okay. A couple new filters here and there ought to do the trick. Increase efficiency, reduce power draw. Okay, fine. You go back through, you look at the plumbing system. You realize that yeah, the that system's going to probably need to be serviced pretty soon. Here, you can see that probably somebody has failed to do some maintenance that probably should have been done in the last 3 to 6 months. And you're like, okay, this is probably what somebody fucked up on or said they did and actually didn't. And it's pretty easy to identify that those systems will probably be improved. And as you're taking notes and stride out of that room and back into the hallway, hey, there he is.
It's some stupid thing where it sometimes registers the intake of the camera and then has some weird fluctuations. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know. Welcome back. Uh, yeah, as you step back into the hallway, you are scribbling, and then very suddenly you see a pair of very shiny, very fancy shoes. They are like velvet, dark blue velvet with like a shiny gold like buckle on a loafer. And as you look up, you see silk ankle socks, white silk ankle socks, and a pair of cuffed navy dress pants that reveal a very dark ankle, which looks like almost like polished mahogany. And as you follow that very crisp suit upwards, you see a gentleman. He is wearing a matching waistcoat. And as his picture would, you could literally hold the piece of tin up and then move it out of the way, and then just drop it. Just it wouldn't. Nothing would change except for the sort of like holographic reflection of the laser etch of his face. You see his drawn, sharp features and his big, bright eyes. And his unnaturally arched eyebrows, and then you see these big, thick dreadlocks.
The
It
same
looks
expression.
almost, yeah. I mean, it's somewhere between. It's like smug. It's smug, like he knows what you had for breakfast. Smug.
Mm,
It's like I know a secret.
intellectual smugness.
Yeah, he is a he seems very bright. And he steeples his fingers, and upon them are many different. It's not all 10 fingers, but he's got two on his left hand and two on his right. These signet rings with different sort of like cutouts on their faces in gold and chunky gold, like gold. And they match his gold buttons, the two of them on his waistcoat, and his high white collar. And he looks at you and he says, "You must be Atlan."
In a very labored neutralness. He looks up with a blank face, goes to his notepad, goes to another side, takes out the plating, and in neat, very almost robot-esque handwriting, there is a list of the findings of his inspections, and he turns over a complete list of the findings that I could make as much as I understand of the systems, a suggestions for payments and expenses.
As he takes that list, he does not break eye contact with you, and he begins to fold up that note, and he sticks it into his jacket pocket. He says, "Thank you, Atlan. I'm very grateful for whatever insights you can provide to me."
And Evelyn makes a point not breaking eye contact on his side either.
Uh, he says, "Were you able to ascertain what it is we do here yet?"
That's my business.
"It's buy business.
Yeah.
Would you? And he looks again, like he looks like the cat that swallowed the canary. He looks at you and he says, "Would you like to know?"
Listen, I have a feeling you would like to tell me. So you're halcyon rules, but I came here to do a job. I did that job. If there's anything else you require of me or my proprietor, then let us know. If that's it, I can go.
I'm afraid I do have a few things for you, my boy. And he says, "Please come with me." And he turns on his heels, and it it's almost as if the loafers that he's wearing are greased. The way he seems to glide across the floor. In
Oh, it's an
stark
unpleasant thought. Greased loafers.
yeah, that's how we like them. I like my loafers greased and my women brassy.
the
Um,
the tonality alone.
yeah, it's a blah in your mouth, right?
Greasy.
Greasy
Greasy loafers.
loafer.
That's not pretty.
Yeah, he begins to
Uh,
almost glide over the surface of the floor in here, and he makes his way down a corridor. And as he approaches the end of it, you see the wall just part, and you see what must be an elevator car inside. Uh, 3 seconds ago, you would have thought that that wall could not have just opened.
I think Alan is following very begrudgingly,
Sure.
as much of as much of a wonder he is witnessing in the different aspects of incredible technological or mechanical
Mm-hmm.
elements he witnesses here. It is still overshadowed by his anxiety of being in something he can only see as a very antagonistic environment for him.
Sure. Are you gonna get in the elevator?
Yeah, he follows begrudgingly,
uh,
but he follows.
sure. As you I'll drop that in just 1 second. As you get into the elevator, uh, he he looks down at you. He's a big. This guy is a brick shithouse. His workout regimen might be eating chunks of concrete. They must keep his teeth so pearly white. Because his jaw looks like it could bite through damn near anything. His shoulders seem to be insulting slash assaulting the seams of his jacket.
Is it this? Is it this over over exaggerated whiteness and
It's
brightness?
yeah, yeah. It is a preternatural, almost like luminous quality
Yeah.
to them. And he pushes the only button on this elevator.
It is so accosting, and I don't know why people do it because it it's so obviously unnatural, and
It's
still you see these people with this extreme.
it's two things. First, it triggers an uncanny valley like nobody's business, but at the same time, it's this weird sort of like I can afford to be unnaturally beautiful. And that's the weird. But that's neither here nor there. As the elevator begins to rise, he turns and says, "You're no stranger to the drain,
Nah, I grew up there.
as did I." And the elevator comes to a halt,
And
and
he,
the doors open.
uh, and he really, before he steps out, and because I think everyone's would stand directly in front of the door to get out as soon as possible.
Sure.
And while he steps out, he says to him, "Well, you're damn sure a long way from there."
As he says, "Not as far as you might think." And from As you step out into this space, it is similarly sort of preternaturally clean. The tables have this like enameled sort of quality to them. These large, flat, ovular tables. There's uh, these almost like ball, like beach ball white stools on these little pedestals. It's just like you're supposed to sit on the beach ball and basketball. Like on top, it's just white, smooth. At that table, you also see there's a wall. It seems to be covered with what might be a single significant algorithm. And you see that similarly, there's panes of glass, which when you sort of like step into them, sort of create this multi-dimensional math problem, which is a little disorienting. Uh, and as you look down uh, at the table, this ovular table, you see some schematics, some blueprints, as it were, and you see something that stands out. That's this.
Atlan is trying to pose as unimpressed, to be as unimpressed as he can be, while after a short glance at all of this, he turns with a very blank expression on his face to this individual. The gala should be nice in the interest of my boss and possible contract. They will ask that you don't let what I say reflect on him necessarily and more on me. But
He chuckles.
I don't know what kind of show of prestige this is, and why you need to flash all of this, to a street rat as I am, certainly. But
Uh,
whatever this is, and whatever this shall lead to, I'm just here to do a job. I would like to do it and return. Being out of your sight, certainly I am a sore spot.
he chuckles and claps his hands together and rubs them. He says, "Pascal told me that you were tougher than nails. But please," as he sees you eyeing this document, Go ahead and take a quick gander there, and I'll
Yeah.
show it to the folks at home. It looks there's a bunch of different structures that look not entirely unlike this.
Oh, that's interesting.
He says, "What do you make of it?"
Just in response to his tougher than nails. Well, nails get no less smitten as I have been. Then he looks at this. So for me, this very much looks like interesting atomic chainings, and very much has a biochemical feel to it more than anything else. But I don't know what Atlan would think about this.
Let's get
Should I make it?
let's get an Arcana. Let's get an Arcana check.
Let's do this. 14.
So a couple of these structures you recognize. They share a almost identical structure to the nanotubes in your armor, in your under armor, and and as you look at them, you're like, okay, roll me an insight check.
Yeah. 24.
Yeah, as you start to look at it, you begin to realize that, well, the nanotubes are made of carbon, and the hydrocarbon chains of petrochemicals and distilled carbons
So it's carbon-based
look
formulas.
like this. Exactly. So as you start to look, you're seeing now, okay, carbon, a carbon. We're doing the carbon thing, I guess. And as you look at it, you start to see these various structures, and immediately your mind begins to sort of shift into that gear of how does it all go together. And instead of these whirring gears for a moment, we start to see these uh, almost staircases of carbon, and how it begins to react with different molecules, different atoms, different materials. And as you look at, bear with me just a second here. As you begin to look at it, the one that stands out, and it's not what this will be called in game, but the fullerene, which is going to be the technically, I believe D, E, and F are your fullerenes. One of my favorite chemical structures, the Buckminster fullerene. You've got graphite. You've got diamond. You've got Buckminster fullerene, and then these sort of nanotubes structures as well.
So Atlan
Graphene is the one in the bottom left.
Yeah. Atlan, recognizing this, tries to overplay his recognition, and just while he was bent over the table to look at it with one hand on this scimitar, he just pushes the scimitar towards him. Something out of my purview, I'm sure.
Yeah, as you push that back, he smiles at you in a way that you're like, this guy. Good God. As you look at him, he says, "No, I don't think so." And you see him dip into a pocket in his jacket and sort of begin to roll his fingers around. And he winks at you and he says, "I think you know just what I'm on to." And he looks down at his pocket and he looks back up at you like, what's it got in its pockets is. And he says, "You've seen it before. You probably have more experience with it than most." And he puts his hand down on the desk on top of this sheet of different crystalline structures. And as he pulls his hand away, you see a about no about maybe the size of your index fingernail, a little multifaceted ball of what looks like diamond, except there's very few striations of gray and black as you're accustomed to seeing them. There's a few, uh, but what really stands out are the rigid layers of pink and blue and yellow iridescence, which, as the little ball begins to roll towards you, begins to reflect and distort the light from overhead. And he says, "Pick it up."
And looks at it, raises his gaze to meet his, crosses his arms. That's an order?
It would be illuminating for both of us.
Yeah. I don't quite know if I want to walk in the same light.
He says, "It'd be a shame if you didn't."
Hmm. It looks at this thing again. Hypothetically speaking, what would you know what this is?
He leans forward and he picks it up and he sort of holds it between his face and yours. And he begins to sort of like turn it and look at it almost lustfully. And he pulls it to the side and then looks back at you and says, "The key to a whole new world." And that is where I'll leave you tonight.
At this, everybody, this you call a setup.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Hey! Uh, great getting to see you tonight, bud. Love getting to play in this world with you. Very excited to see what comes next. You
Great, I
will,
really like this.
yeah, you will, whether you like it or not, be getting to know Abel and Pip a little bit better here, because yeah, you're gonna get contracted to work for them.
I don't want to block you too heavily. Really, it was just a difficult.
Motivation makes good sense, and I think it's very consistent with your character. I don't.
And also this dichotomy for me to, okay, how do I portray a character who has gone through this hell,
Right.
which he believes to be facilitated by individuals
Yeah.
as they may represent, and still be accommodating towards the wants, needs, and ask of Pascal,
Right.
and also not insignificantly being very much interested in this
The Pixar curse.
strange.
I know. Yeah, no, I understand. It happens to the best of us.
So that was the reason I was a little bit passive aggressive.
No, I think you played it. I think you played it beautifully. I don't think that Atlin would enthusiastically pursue this. It's inconsistent and incongruous with what he's experienced his whole life.
Yes,
So yeah, uh,
it's a carefully mistrusting
sure.
approach at the
Uh,
moment.
yeah, there's going to be lots of opportunities for uh, thoughtful mistrust in this world. That is for ever loving sure. Um,
I also really love the discrepancy of this of this robotic um, or this synthetic being, and understanding his mechanical interest in her makeup as a intimate interest in her. I really like that.
I mean, I'm sure that's what she's accustomed to. Um, but unfortunately, I must bid you adieu and au revoir, and remind you as always to be good, to take care of yourselves, and if you can't be good, for the love of God, don't get caught. Bye, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you again soon.
See you then, Hadley. Bye.
Toodles. Bye, y'all. Have a great evening. Thanks for coming out.